Yeah. So the main thing I need to capture out of the front is like this, the message kind of drives out of, you already had this message, and then it's kind of the real world living it out. It keeps developing and developing and developing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So talk to me about the process of writing the book. Cause you said you wrote the book. In a sense, you got about half the information down while you're preparing for a talk, which is great because one of the things we teach people is to repurpose all of your content. So stop seeing it as, well, I do talks, I do books, I do courses, I do coaching, and start seeing it as same message, just different delivery mechanisms. So you start repurposing the content and shooting it out in various formats, social media, even shooting it out in the same. So as far as like putting that into the book, let's just talk about the writing process and all of that. How did you do that?
Yeah. So I still work for another company, but I have the flexibility of working from home whenever I want, and I can work as much or as little as I want. Um, and so I started setting aside two mornings a week where I would just write. And so I kind of just picked a chapter. I mean, when I first started, I just started writing. I'm like, I think I want to do this. I think I want to do this. And then,
You're just kind of
uh,
dumping all the information out.
correct. So kind of like you
Okay.
talk about, kind of just start, you have all this content and then you start aggregating. You start
Yeah,
pulling it
getting
all
it out.
together.
Yeah, get it out of your head and onto paper before you even think about shaping it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we use the analogy in one of the social media posts about, it's kind of like Legos, where you just, when you buy a kit of Legos, you can make all these shapes that they, or all these designs they have on the box, but you just dump all the pieces out and then you sort. And so what you're doing, like in this phase, is you're just aggregating, is like you're just dumping everything out and starting to sort ideas, not into the shape of the book, but like ideas with like ideas with like ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so if we start from the very beginning of, hey, I want to talk about this with this company. I want to ask this question. Oh, seasons kind of makes sense. Let's talk about season. Well, what does it require? I wasn't even sold on how I want what the main top title was going to be for a long time. But I was like, well, I like these different areas. I don't feel like we usually talk about these different areas with employees all the time, but I care about employees. I mean, I burnt myself out in my career because I didn't set boundaries at
Yeah,
work. I felt like I was always on. I felt like I always had to have my phone available, and I hated that. But I had worked myself to that position, and I didn't let myself go. I didn't let certain tasks go that I should have let go, and so I burnt myself out. And so because of my experience, I was like, man, how someone is at home matters a lot. Someone's faith, it matters even when they're at work. I think if we can get someone to improve their home life and their family life, well, that's going to make them even better at work. If they're good with their money, then they don't necessarily have the stress necessarily to show up stressed out at work, but they're able to enjoy time with their friends more, and so they'll
yeah.
become a more well balanced individual. And so I started asking these questions, and I've always been asked. I'm a question asker, and I just always have been, as far as internally, because I want to improve. And when I share questions, people are like, "Oh, I like your perspective. That's a good question." Whereas my wife comes from a different angle. She's a different kind of question asker. She's a math teacher, and so she's a black and white thinker for the most part.
Very
Um,
logical.
she is, and she thinks of things that I've never thought of before. And so she's super helpful when it comes to, well, what's the plan? What's the action step? What's this? I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And so together we ask really good questions if we choose to work together. If I choose to let her ask me
Yeah,
questions.
if you choose to, yeah, right, choose to lean into that wisdom.
Yeah. And so, I had, okay, I want to walk through the 7 areas of life. Well, what does that look like? And just started writing. Okay, if we talk about family, what do I want to ask these people about their family? Like, what's important? And then I would write. And then let's switch to a different area. And I write. I was like, oh, actually, I want to circle back to family again. I started write some more. And then I was like, okay, I think I got the idea down. Now let's start putting final touches on this. Then I was like, well, I should probably find a format, a template to see where I'm at page wise. once I found the template and uploaded everything to it, I was like, well, shoot, I already have 100 pages. This is awesome. um, and then I just kept working away. I was like, okay, I want to find, and so I started again, just 1 or 2 days a week for only about 2 hours, because that wasn't probably till about this fall after he went to school, preschool, and I started having
Is that Jacoby?
Jacoby's in 5th grade. Grady is my youngest.
Grady is the one that was you were having to pastor the poop sessions because of
Yeah.
that season. Okay. Okay, so you say
So
you drop it into a template, and instantly, once you have a template, instead of just random words on the page, it actually, I mean, we've taught this too. Once you get it into a book template, it looks like a book, acts like a book, thinks like a book, and you start envisioning it as a book.
yes, yeah, it gets a little bit more serious at that point. You're like, hey, this is becoming a reality.
I
It's
got
not just a
something.
dream. Yeah. And then even now, I've got it uploaded. I could list it for sale right now on Amazon. I'm messing with the cover a little bit, just getting that right. And then once I do that, I'll order my own copy, just be able to hold
Yeah.
it and take a picture of it as well. So working on the ebook right now. That's been tricky, but I've been for a long time. I never gave myself permission to learn something. I felt like I always had to have it done immediately. Um, so this has taught me patience and problem solving, and I'm grateful for this process. It's been really good for me. Um, probably, I mean, it's probably been the right time of life to do it, just with this whole spring and summer and the big changes I've been making in my health, my eating, all my habits again. Um, just with going through the cancer journey and everything, but it's been I've had to, like I said, I had to relearn how to approach something. And I even talk about this in the book when it comes to work. Does this season, what does this season require at work? And I ask this question: is it hard, or is it just new? When something's hard, it requires a lot of effort. Sometimes it's physical
Yeah.
effort. I have to go dig a hole in the backyard. That's hard work. Or I have to write a book. Sometimes that's hard work of sitting down, putting, like you said, putting hours in the chair of
Yeah.
getting it done. But sometimes it's just new. And when something's new, it takes a different energy to approach it with. But when you understand that, oh, it's new, well, I'm going to approach it with a student mindset, then I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to take the time that takes to learn. It won't come immediately. And so that's where the patience came into play there for me.
Man, that's a good point right there. Talk to me a little bit about the process of, so you start writing the book, you've got a book template, all of that. Talk to me about the process of going from template to, the refining process. You get the ideas dumped on paper. So, how many pages did you have at that point when you get it all dumped out on paper? And then what's next after you get
Yeah.
it dumped out on paper?
Yeah. So once I uploaded the talk and my initial ideas to the book template, I probably had about 100 pages or so. Now that it's all finished, I have 163. So part of that was adding in a few small graphics, super simple graphics that are already in my Word, in the Word document kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I pulled out certain quotes in each chapter that I really liked as one-liners and kind of put them in a box off to the side as well. And so that added a little bit more length there. But yeah, I kind of spent time just going back through, okay, do I have a story? And what's the point? Trying to flow back and forth from serious to a good story that help re-engage. But then each chapter ends in almost like a workbook type style of clarity questions in that area of life. And so there's a section there as well. And so it took a little bit again I kind of asked the questions throughout the chapter, but I don't want every single question there because not everyone's going to do the workbook. Not everyone's going to want all of those different questions.
Yeah.
So you kind of just took time just sorting through that. I would spend, I have 2 or 3 hours on those mornings when I was writing them to kind of work through. Okay, today I just want to work on this chapter about friendships and relationships. Like what do I want to talk about? What friends do I want to bring into this? How do we get higher level friends? How do we get rid of the lower level friends? And just ask, like, okay, who are those voices we need to seek out? Just kind of, okay, how do I want to talk about this idea? So it just took time to, okay, I got 2 hours. I want to focus on this. All right, let's just write. And then I go over that chapter a couple different times to kind of tweak it, refine it, delete stuff, until I read through and be like, okay, I like it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was even, I like it enough. Today, I like it enough. I'm going to leave it alone. I'll come back to it again. And then once I come back to it again, it's like, yeah, I like that. Or it's okay. There's probably a couple spots in the book where I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm often super critical of my own stuff. And once I have my own copy, once I read through it again, I'll decide, yeah, maybe another edition, I'll adjust it. I don't know, but it's also done right now. Sometimes done is better than perfect. And that's where that's something that held me back in the past of, no, it has to be perfect. It has to be perfect before I even release it. Not always. I mean, I've put in a lot of work to this. It's not just haphazard. So I want it. Is it my absolute best? That's my best for right now, but my best for later might be even better than it is now. But this is my best for right now, and I'm content with that.